not when they need it, not when they don't need it. Training versus exposure. So most of us feel like we're training somebody on something, but we're really just exposing them to something. The difference between training and exposure is that exposure is when you show somebody something once and they don't necessarily need it right away. Training is I played football in college, and we would train on the offensive plays of the other team we're going to play on that Saturday. So we wouldn't train on the offensive plays on a team that we're going to play 4 weeks from now because it's irrelevant to what we're going to be doing next. The game that we're going to play on Saturday, we looked at all their offensive players, all their plays, and we trained on those instead of being exposed to them at the beginning of the season. And hopefully we can remember it, when that game came. Hopefully that makes sense too. So a deliberate plan for who will step into key roles when leaders leave and how they'll be prepared. This is succession planning. So most of us think we have a succession plan in place. I usually like to ask the question like, who has a succession plan in place already? And I ask the crowd to raise their hands, and there might be like one or two people out of like 50 or 75 people that actually have a succession plan. You have your first place person, you have your second place person, third place person. I like Julian Alfred. She was, she's the 100-meter winner, and I like using her in slides because it matters because we remember who the first place person was who won the Olympics, but the second and third place person we kind of forget about. And I hate to say it, it's kind of like that within our utilities. That the first place person is who we focus on, and the second and third place person, or the second and third person, are kind of the ones that we just go, oh, okay, great, they showed up. Now we can actually do some projects. This slide right here is a fun one. Most of you know the person on the left-hand side. That's Tom Brady. And the person on the right side is the person that is a football player that most people don't know. And that's Drew Bledsoe. So at the time, Drew Bledsoe was the starter. Drew Bledsoe was the guy who was supposed to take everybody to the Super Bowl. He was the best quarterback at the time for that team. And so he played in front of Tom Brady. But if one snowy night, Drew Bledsoe went down because he dislocated his finger. Tom Brady got his chance to shine. And I hate to say it, but the rest is history. Tom Brady took over, and now we have a Tom Brady who is arguably one of the best football quarterbacks ever. Not sure if you're a Pat Mahomes fan, but a Tom Brady, he's probably one of the best ever. And we would have never had a Tom Brady if Drew Bledsoe didn't go down. So I always say, think within your organization there might be a Tom Brady, but he's behind that Drew Bledsoe. And there might be a thing that you can do to help that Tom Brady shine his light outside of being behind that Drew Bledsoe. Because I played football, and when you're second or third string, you don't necessarily get the same reps as a starter. You're not on the field as much. You're not, in the game plan as much. And so it's hard for you to get that same kind of attention or reps when you're second or third string. So think about it. If you have a depth chart within your organization, who does this, who's second in line, who's third in line, sometimes the second and third string person can be capable of doing something, and that allows them to show that their value and show that they're actually worth something instead of just waiting for their turn. Hire for attitude and train for skill. Most of us would love to be able to hire for attitude and train for skill. I mean, we want to be able to hire somebody who shows up on time, has a good attitude, presents well, interacts with his coworkers right, interacts with the public the public right, and then you should be able to train them for the task that they're going to do. I see it all across the country out here in the States is that we only can hire for skill because the job is so rigorous and it's so pointed to where you need to know certain things. And sometimes you hire somebody who might not have the best attitude. And that's what nobody wants to do. So if we can hire for attitude and train for skill, I think that's a win. We're going to talk about that in a second. So institutionalized knowledge, most of you know what institutionalized knowledge is. That's where the knowledge that is developed, and I'll read it to you. It's a body of information, practices, and expertise that becomes embedded within an organization over time, independent of any one person. It usually includes standard procedures, SOPs, policies, checklists, documented processes, cultural norms, and unwritten rules, historical context. So SOPs. Most of you have some type of SOP process within your organization or your utility. SOP is a standard operating procedure. That means if something happens, you are supposed to do these certain steps to help fix that problem or to help complete that process. Wherever I go across the country, the SOPs are usually buried in some binder. It's like a 4-inch thick binder, and it's in the supervisor's office, and nobody can access that binder. I say, why can't we get those on video? Because again, nobody's going to read a PDF. They're more likely to watch a video. Policies and checklists. Policies. I mean, how many policies do you have within your organization that a lot of people don't even know exist? Whether how to take off for sick days, how to put in for time off, what's the maternity leave or paternity leave for men whose wives are pregnant, going to have a child. Most people don't know these things, and they're usually buried in some document folder that nobody can find. Checklists, those are easier and fun because most of us have checklists on what process we need to do, whether it's a work order system or certain processes that we have. Those checklists should be contained somewhere where everybody knows how to access them instead of having to ask somebody to do it. Um, Documented process manuals, training content, system diagrams. System diagrams is a huge one. I mean, we know whenever, every year that passes by, it's like the plant that was behind Ignatius. Excuse me, the plant that was behind him, it was commissioned 4 years ago. Every year that plant gets older, that plant will thanks for pulling it up. That plant will start to get its own personality because over time we will start to make modifications and service it and maintain it differently. And so remember when you first bought your car, like you would turn the key and it would start right up. And then 10 years, that same truck that you have, you got to clap 2 times, stomp 3 times, and then turn the key, and then it starts up. So over time, things get their own personalities, and why can't those be documented? So now when somebody else needs to operate it or operate that truck or that piece of equipment, they know how to operate it, how it's supposed to be operated. Uh, Ops manuals. I mean, whenever you buy a new piece of equipment, whether it's a pump, clarifier, SCADA system, whatever, it comes with the operations manual. And again, those ops manuals are usually in some cloud document that not everybody can access, or they're in it could be a file cabinet where it's hidden from everybody else. And again, only the supervisor has the key for that filing cabinet, and not everybody can access that. And so we're going to talk about how you can get to that. So this right here is video. It's just an icon for video. It's something that I got really really good at in my younger days in college, and I started shooting video because it was something that allows me. They say a picture's worth 1,000 words. Well, if you think of what video is, it's 1,000 pictures just strung together. And we all go on YouTube to watch a video on how to fix or operate something that we own. So why don't the most important utilities in our communities have that same process? Why do the guys and girls who are keeping our fresh water coming in and our wastewater going out, why can't they have this same process to be able to get things done for their utility? Again, there's not too many YouTube videos on how to fix a pump or how to test certain get water samples. We should be able to create that internally, and so now when you hire somebody new, they can watch those videos. So I'm gonna give you some educational content. 4 reasons why video is the ultimate medium for standard operations or standard operating procedures. So accountability, that's one of the main ones that a lot of people reach out to me for, is because if you can show the same video set to 10 operators and one operator's not doing it right, it's that one operator's problem. Because if everybody else can watch the same videos, follow the same directions, and do the process correct, and that one person's not doing it right, it's that person's problem. So now you know what to fix that person. How many times have you trained somebody or trained your staff and somebody wasn't there? Somebody was on vacation, somebody was out sick, or the trainer had a bad day and they didn't deliver the same training they did the last 6 months ago when they came out. So on video, it's the same every time, and it can be replicated. Number 2 is scalability. You can send the same video to as many people as you want. The same trainer can't reach everybody at the same time in the same energy and attitude that they can all the time. And so video can. This doesn't alleviate some of the in-person training, but it will allow that operator to go, okay, I seen a video on that. I can hit play, hit pause, do a process, hit play, hit pause, do a process, hit play, do it. You get what I'm saying, until the whole process is complete. You don't necessarily need to be able to call, or you don't have to call the supervisor or have to waste time, fiddling around with it, doing it the wrong way, when you could just use a video to get that process done. Training inclusivity. I run into this a lot in the Southwest. Language. A lot of people speak Spanish out here, and you'd be surprised when training is delivered in English, the little nuance, the little things that are missed when the language is different. Whether it could be an accent, you might get somebody from East Asia. Go ahead, Madeline. Let's hear your question. You're muted. Let's see Madeline's hand up. You're muted. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and push on. Just interrupt me,
Yeah,
Madeline. Go.
sorry. My my Zoom is limping along here, so it's a bit of a challenge. Hopefully you can hear me. So I'm with Operators Without Borders. I'm the chair of the Technology and Training Committee. Valerie may have actually mentioned it. We have a number of different cultures in which, we are offering assistance and support. And one of the most relevant here to your particular topic today is the one in Haiti, where we have, as you were mentioning, there's Spanish. Well, in Haiti, there is French, which is regarded as kind of the professional language, and we and also Creole, which is oral. And I was working with this wonderful engineer who had spent a lot of time there. And he was talking about, Madeline, the operators I work with don't necessarily go to Google. They try and find someone. This is the idea of the oral tradition, right? They try and find someone who has a solution. And if they don't, then they find workarounds. And so that's what got started with the idea of having a very simple template for the text part and taking pictures. As you said, often they're taking pictures as they're doing things. But we decided, no, we also want the video to really help with the oral traditions and to try and move into having a sense of the people involved having invested interest in this, right? And so internalizing the value actually of documentation that's closer to what they need or want. I'm going to stop there. I took a lot of time. I'm sorry because I'm going to disappear at
You're fine.
12:30 on you. But hopefully it really reinforces a lot of what you're talking about. But it certainly met the need also in terms of the culture and respect for that.
Yeah, yeah. No, and you're spot on. I mean, not everything written is delivered the same way when it's spoken. So,
Right.
I mean, we would rather, again, we go on YouTube to figure out how to, you know, bake a cake, fix our refrigerator,
Yep.
whether you have a solar issue in your house, like whatever. We want to find that video because when we go on Google and just find text, it doesn't quite get us there. And so, Madeline, I appreciate you saying that because let's be honest, like if somebody's finding a workaround for something, over time those workarounds are going to run out, and the and
Yep.
whatever is going to be done, or whatever needs to be done won't be able to get done because it's been so much. I say, when so many corners are cut, you end up from a pizza, 24-inch pizza, to down to a 1-inch cookie because you keep cutting the corners. And that's, again, that's training. Like if I
Yeah.
delivered it to Madeline has to deliver it to Kevin Carter, and then Kurt Calderon, and then Denzel Lane, and then Mark Lackland, Laushan. Uh, every By the time it gets to Mark, it's a completely just like that game telephone. One
Yeah.
person tells
Yeah.
the next. By the time it gets around the room, that
Yeah.
fifth grader says something crazy because it's like, wait, where did that come from? But that's
Yeah.
training also. But
I'm
if
just
we
going
go
to
ahead,
add, though, we what we're also trying to do is actually involve the operators in the videoing
yes,
so that there's a sense of sharing knowledge and respect. And sometimes they, because they're more familiar with their system, will be
yeah,
able to actually note things. So the idea is actually to get them involved in the videoing as well. And then to
and
have it all accessible in something called mwater, which is kind of a database for them. So having both of those things together kind of reinforces, and as you were saying, takes it out of the administrator's office and into something more accessible. sorry to interrupt,
Yeah,
but I just want to really reinforce that the idea is also to get them involved and make sure, of course, that it's rigorous and that, it hits standards, but to
yeah,
have them involved in the videoing, it becomes part of them as well. So I'm
yeah.
going to cut myself off and thank you. This has been great. I actually hope to catch you maybe after the session and
Sure.
touch base on another occasion. Thank you
Let's
so
hop on a call
much.
for sure.
These
Thank
this
you.
has been great.
Thank you. And Madeline, you're kind of stealing my thunder, but I appreciate
Oh,
it. So my next slide here, if I can find it. Okay, so 5 tips to creating training content. Um, your best technician isn't always the best influencer. And yes, I don't stand in front of the camera, I'm behind the camera. So the person who I'm usually videoing works at that plant or works at that city or that agency or that utility because again, who better to learn something than somebody that sit next to you in that morning rodeo? You know, when somebody flies in from, Boston, like the person in Texas is like they don't have the same water, they don't have the same dirt, it's a different product, different project. Doesn't make sense to me. I'm going to tune out. But when somebody sitting next to you is delivering the content and say, "Hey, here's how you lock out, tag out," you're going to go, "Oh shoot, if he knows it, and I'm being delivered that content, I need to do it how he's doing it." And so sometimes the person who is your best technician isn't the best influencer because I always say, like, Michael Jordan will be a terrible basketball coach. I say Tom Brady will be a terrible football coach because when you're the best at something, there's so much nuance that's missed when you're a beginner because you've surpassed that so far. Sometimes it's that middle tenure person. Maybe they've been there for 2 or 3 years and not the 30 years, and they could deliver the content for you. I say spread the wealth. Don't have one person create all the content for you. You'll burn them out. Usually by the end of the week when I'm shooting with one person, they're like, "Oh, get this camera out of my face. I'm tired. I'm burnt out," because they're not used to being in front of the camera delivering this content. They're used to just doing the work. So I say if you can find somebody, maybe this is their second day on the job, but they know PPE. Have them do the content that says, "Here's the proper PPE when working around this equipment," or "Here's where you find the SOPs." Maybe it's the person who's been there for 5 years. You can have them do a process, and the person who's been there for 15 years have them do a different process. So don't make it all one person. You'd be surprised how much buy-in you get by spreading the wealth around and letting everybody contribute, and now they're going to be more likely to watch it and propagate the content. I always say, don't be a YouTuber, just be you. Like, don't put on that YouTube voice and, "Hey guys, my name is so and so, and I'm doing this and that." Just be you. If you're chill, if you're cool, calm, and collected, just be you like that on camera. Because again, the person who's sitting next to you in that morning rodeo will be more likely to ask a question. If you say something that they didn't understand on the video, they can come up to you and say, "Hey, what did you mean by this?" Or, "I watched the video. What did you mean by that?" Document over produce. Document means just capturing what is happening. Produce means making it happen so you can capture it. And I say, if there's a process that's going to be done, like you do it every Tuesday, you got to walk the plant, you got to check this, check that. Let me just tag along, and you can talk as you're doing the work. Let's not set up 10,000 lights and 50,000 cameras and have a full on script because it doesn't feel as organic. The scripts, I say, let's not have any scripts. Maybe if you have to have a bullet point sheet in your hand just to make sure you remember everything you want to say, that's okay. But let's not script it out because, again, these videos that I shoot, the average length is 2.5 minutes long. And so this could be a 45-minute long walk around on something, but I usually edit it down into smaller bite-sized pieces of consumable content, just like how you see here, shorts versus long form, because they're more likely to watch it and finish watching it if they open up the video and it's only 3 minutes long versus a 30-minute long. Again, you want to fix something around the house. There's probably a 20-minute long video to how to fix the faucet, or there's a 3-minute long video on how to fix the faucet. Which one are we going to click on? Most likely. It's the same thing with operators. Any more questions? Feel free to raise your hand. So this right here, most of you know what this is. This is a Honda generator, and I always like to put this slide in here because there was a story that was told to me. There was a young operations technician. It was his second week on the job, and he was on the job site, and the lead said, "Hey, can you go turn on that generator, get it started for us?" And so that youngster went over to the generator, and I think most of you could tell he didn't know how to operate that generator. And so the supervisor, he knew, he looked over at him and said, "Oh man, this kid doesn't know how to do it." And he came back over and said, "Hey boss, I don't know how to operate the generator." And what did everybody else on the job site do? They laughed at him, they ridiculed him, they made fun of him. And he's 3 weeks later, the kid quit from the job. And we could tell that, like, or the guy told me, he said he could tell that when somebody doesn't feel like they're empowered or doesn't feel like they're competent, they're going to be less confident. So we know that competence breeds confidence. When you know how to do something, you're going to be more likely to show up with good energy and with your chest out saying, "Hey, I can do this," instead of saying, "Oh, I don't know how to do this, and this isn't my jam, and this isn't my cup of tea, I'm going to leave." And so I say, why can't we put on this generator a QR code sticker that the young kid could scan with his phone, watch a video, a 30-second video, how to do the choke, how to turn it on, how to pull the cord, how to make sure there's gas in it. So now he can operate that generator on his own, come back to that job site and go, "I know how to do something. I'm more empowered." Because again, competence breeds confidence. And the people more likely to leave your organization are the ones who don't feel like they're getting that education to be able to move up, to be able to be that potential, that alpha on the job site. This right here, City of Houston, Texas. It's the biggest public works organization in the I don't want to say the world, but it's in the States. These guys right here, they just laid down some fresh cement. And what he's doing is he's getting a leaf out of that, and his buddy's helping him. This is a perfect picture of using an operator to help your operators. Don't think that you always need to fly in the best, the best, the brightest, this or that. Like, these tasks that are done are usually mundane, usually done day to day. So don't be afraid to use your operators to help other operators get things done around your plant. This is me right here. I'm shooting video with the city of Columbus, and as you can see, this spreadsheet on the bottom right here. This is the planning part, and I say before you pull out any cameras, any microphones, or before I come on site, we're gonna plan. And if you ever been to a wedding and there's been a photographer there, that photographer, they have a list of shots that they want to have or they want to get at that wedding. And so they'll have a list of, like, I want to get the oldest in the generation or the oldest in the family with the youngest in the family. I want to get the family who traveled the furthest with the bride and groom. I want to get the bride and all the groomsmen and the groom and all the bridesmaids. Yeah, so they have a list of all the shots that they want. It's the same thing with Vitendo. We'll develop a list of all the shots that you would want, and then you go out and shoot it, because you'd be surprised that this list never shrinks on the job site. It always grows, because if you're shooting a video on how to turn on the water pump, there's going to be a couple things that you need to do or look for to be able to turn on the water pump, and that's where we'll start adding in more videos. So again, I would use your operators and say, "Hey, what do you wish you would have known that you bumped your head on in the first 2 months? Or what are some of the things that the 30-year guy knows that you wish you could learn?" And start writing those down, put them in a spreadsheet. And those are where you would start your SOP process of, like, "Oh, okay, well, these guys want to know this, they want to know that." And you start jotting these down. And now that gives you a list of things that you could potentially start training on and capture that video. This video at the bottom here, daily filter checks. That's a fun one. I do those, I feel like, wherever I go. There's always like what do we do day to day with this piece of equipment? What do we do, day to day with this plant? There's certain things that need to be done, and you should be able to hire somebody, let them watch that video, and he'll go, "Oh, this is what I need to do every day when I'm at this plant." This right here, if you were to scan this QR code, it'll take you to PDub. PDub is Public Works. I trained this QR code chat bot with 400 of the industry's prominent documents, whether it's like the wastewater 101 document or like a lot of diagrams and SCADA type stuff. And I trained it to be able to help wastewater operators or water operators to be able to get the information they want in their back pocket. And a lot of times, a lot of the questions that come through here are math. I'm not strong at math. I know a lot of people who aren't strong at math. They can use this chatbot to get a math equation done for some water, wastewater, or whatever, and this will give them the answer for that. If you wanted to come up with an SOP for something, you can say, "Hey, PDub, give me an SOP for such and such process or for this process," and it will give you an SOP. You might have to change a couple things, but that will get you from 0 to 1 versus staring at a blank piece of paper and not knowing how to start something. So scan that QR code if you want that chat bot. That's an offering that I created for the industry. It gets used all day, every day. It's one of the coolest things that I've created because again, it's trained with things in our industry, and now people are using it. If you need me to bring it back, just raise your hand and tell me to. This slide right here, so 1% better every day. This is something that I live by. There's something that you can do that is small, whether it's complimenting somebody on their energy or their boots, whether it's hopping in your truck and driving out to the job site with some bottles of water, whether it's, instead of closing your door before you had coffee, go into the equipment room where the guys and girls are at and say, hey, how's everybody feeling today? You gonna have a good day today? Those little things, those little 1% increments over time will start to make your department look like, how you want it to look, whether it's culturally, whether it's energy wise. And then also, 1% worse. If we don't do these things to nurture our employees, to nurture our training departments, to nurture our vendors, it can get worse over time. Training isn't something you've done. It is something you do. Don't think that, oh, we trained them, we use our training budget, we're done for the year. You'd be surprised how many operators want to learn. They're eager to learn. They want more information. So don't think that the job is done just because you've trained. This QR code right here, I make a personalized video for you. If you scan this and fill out the form, all it does is ask you, what kind of problems are you seeing internally, whether it's succession planning, institutionalized knowledge, or whatever. And what I do is I send you examples of what I've done and what you could do on site on your location to be able to help with those problems. I don't want you to think you're alone and not having SOPs. I don't want you to think you're alone and like that institutionalized knowledge silver tsunami where everybody who knows everything is leaving your organization. You're not alone. I'm here to help out. That's the end of my presentation. So if there's any questions, or also if there's something that you might have tried to do this internally, let's talk about it. If you might have tried to have some video training internally, it didn't go like how you wanted to, I can give you some tricks or tips on how to best execute on that. So any questions, comments, thoughts, concerns?
Right. Thank you for that. The floor is open, folks. Um, please ask questions. Have suggestions. I know you're good at that. But I think. Oh yeah, Kevin Carter. Go ahead,
Go ahead,
Kevin.
Kevin.
Oops, sorry.
I hear
Great.
you.
Here we go. Hey, first of all, great presentation. Just
Thank you.
I love what you're doing. I think visual is so important. Um, Particularly as generations get used to being on their tablet. So it's certainly a great
Yep.
thing. So when Ignatius and I talk about twinning, we typically talking about a utility in the United States sends a team down to say Cyprian in the Bahamas, or Cyprian sends a team over to us, which they just did back in November. But there's another kind of twinning called AI twinning of
Uh-huh.
wastewater and water facilities, where you basically develop a virtual visual model of
Yep.
your facilities. It's
I'm
really
familiar.
hit up during COVID. Do you see a real synergy between what you're doing with videos and that virtual model, which
Yes.
more and more utilities are using?
So the digital twin aspect is great because I've been able to place my video content in a digital twin.
Oh,
Um, I've even
nice.
I've even looked into getting the software to be able to create a twin. You got to get a camera, and they give you the software. You kind of walk through the whole plant. But like again, I hate to keep using Ignatius' background. Like a digital twin, if you walk through it digitally, you can click, whether it's a button on the screen, on a
Hmm.
pump, or whatever, and my video content will pop up. So if an
Oh,
operator's
right.
walking through the plant, he can see the twin on his phone. He can click this, and it'll get him all the SOPs, all the operations
Nice.
documents, all the service and maintenance manuals, for that piece of equipment. So yeah, digital twinning. I mean, it's pretty symbiotic with what I do because you're
Yeah,
trying to find something and figure out how to operate it.
great. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty interesting one. Given the cost of moving people or twinning programs, I think the virtual the suggestion by Kevin about the AI twinning, and of course the concept of those videos which is some of what we are trying to achieve through our webinar series.
Okay.
Uh,
Same
so
concept. Yeah.
that we can help to get other people to speak on what obtains for water operators. So there are lots of lessons and the way you can help with networking. But I
Yeah.
think this is really commendable, what you're suggesting, and given the new age of how people learn.
Yeah.
Some of us, as a friend says, from the 1900s, we would be reading a book. You know, today, people look at the University of YouTube and so on. So
Yeah.
that's really perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. No, for
Any
sure.
questions, guys? Welcome, Cyprian. I see that you're on board. We just called your name. Um, so good to have you on. But just in case, for those of you who missed the start, I will just tell you what was going on. Just a quick recap that Mr. Joseph Blackman is the founder of Vitendo Training Solutions, where the main focus is to get knowledge from people who have it to people who need it, with a passion for public works, video, and just in time training. And he has taken the initiative to set the standard for capturing institutionalized knowledge. And so today he was speaking about the benefits of using video based SOPs over traditional written documents in wastewater training and knowledge retention. And I think he did a good job in showing just the snippets that people pick up. I think we were once recently out on a field trip, and I was showing some of the communications people. You don't have to have a big professional cameras.
No.
Now,
No.
the technology we have today, you could do a
Yes.
short clip and
Yeah.
show just what was going on, do a quick interview and speak with the workers. And, you
Yeah.
can accomplish so much by doing that. So that's
Yeah.
really awesome.
Yeah, when I first got started, I didn't have all the cameras and lights and stuff. It was just me using my iPhone, and I would shoot a video of me saying, "Hey, here's how you plumb the water to your water pump." And I would text those videos to the supervisors. Supervisors would text those to the group chat of their operators, and now everybody had the same knowledge. So this, again, I always say, even if you don't do business with me, like that's totally fine. Don't think that you can't have your operators pull out their phone and just video the tasks that they're doing, send it to you, and you put it in your C drive where you hold all your files at. And then when somebody has that question, just send them that video. And now they have the answer to it. I mean, let's make it easy on yourself. Instead of having to answer the question every time you hire somebody, just video yourself answering that question and say, hey, watch this first. If you got any questions, then reach out to me.
I think, Kevin, you wanted to say something. I think you had your hand up again. No? But
No,
but I
no,
also
I did the clap. I said the
oh,
clap for job well done. So go
okay,
ahead.
great. All right. Yeah, but just another one that was really remarkable. I think very good initiative was that of, I think, the suggestion of when there is a new piece of equipment that you can generate a QR code and then you link it to the instructions of through a video. I thought that was really brilliant.
Yeah,
So
I mean, a lot of times people call me when they're going to have a new piece of equipment be delivered. When that salesman or the manufacturer rep is coming out to deliver it to do the training on it, they call me and say, "Hey, can you come out and take this training and just add it to our Vitendo portal?" Because what I do is I deliver it in software, so now everybody knows where to find that content at, and it's a living software to where I can always keep updating it. The more I come out, or the more video you shoot, I can subtitle it, put it on different captions or whatever, give it back to you in that portal, so now they can use that for future operations. But people love the QR codes. Again, a QR code should be on every pump, every lift station, every truck, because you can scan that QR code and find all the ops manuals, wiring diagrams, water diagrams, maintenance manuals, maintenance intervals, like your little worksheets for that. Instead of having to like search through, all your files on your computer for that.
yeah,
You know?
my
Hi,
colleagues.
thank you. This
Yes,
is
go ahead,
Augustus here,
Timothy. Good.
professional operator out of Trinidad and Tobago. I do appreciate your presentation, Mr. Blackman.
Thank you.
And somebody like me who depends on a lot of visual stimulation to remember. The part for me is the memory because I will sit in a class and then if I don't take that and apply it,
Yep.
let's say I do
There you go.
on a human interface and I'm going through the thing step by step. One of my colleagues online here will tell you that he would probably have to show me that 3 and 4 times. So having a video where I could go back to,
Yep.
interact with and it will stick. It will stick. And I like this approach, as even the QR codes approach to maintenance of pieces of equipment and so on. It's
Yeah.
brilliant. Love it. Thank you.
Yeah. 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 I mean, the refresher. I mean, how many things that are important that you do once a year that are really important, like critical to the foundation of your to your agency. And the whole year goes by, you're like, oh shoot, how did I do that again? And so if you could just pull up the video and use it as a refresher every time, like now you don't have to commit it to memory when we're trying to remember everything else on the planet.
Any others? Seem to be quiet this afternoon. I think everything was crystal clear. But
Good.
I certainly think it is the sort of webinar which I certainly will include a lot of our HR managers onto my circulation this time around. I think it has a lot of useful information that
Sure.
they be able to make use of, and certainly we would maybe continue at some point in the future to engage you on this. Yeah.
Good. Appreciate it. Love the
Uh,
chat.
but if there are no other, I think somebody has saying something in the chat room. I'm just checking.
See, Mark said Caribbean plants need this when they're doing upgrades. I'm doing it's a $700 million plant in Gilbert, Arizona, and they hired me to do all the startup and commissioning training because it's an upgrade. It's $700 million. It's crazy. It's a huge scope, and pretty much every other day I'm going out and videoing all the different upgrades for the processes or the products that are going in this plant. And like, how many times has a plant been upgraded or built? The person who originally got the training left, and now they're like, wait, how did he operate this? How do they do that? So yeah, Mark, you're spot on with these upgrades and these new plant builds. They need this training documented and not just on paper.
Yeah. So yeah. Yes. Cyprian, we will be circulating the presentation. I will upload it and I will circulate it once it's recording is completed. Certainly. Well, I think that does it. But again, I'd like to thank you immensely, Joseph, and for this very comprehensive but very insightful presentation this afternoon. And I think for those who joined late, this is CAWASA webinar number 2 of 2026. And I'll repeat here that I must pull a plug for you, Joe. Um, Joe Blackman is the founder of Vitendo Training Solutions, where the main focus is to get knowledge from the people who have it to the people who need it, with a passion for public works, video, and just-in-time training. And he has taken the initiative to set the standard for capturing institutionalized knowledge. So today's session was about the benefits of using video-based SOPs, standard operating procedures, over the traditional written documents, which in wastewater training and for water training as well, and knowledge retention. Often, as he said in the presentation, a lot of that, many of us do not like to go deep diving into a lot of things that might be still, some of us still have things that are paper based, and you have to go reading lots of paper or to go and find a ring binder with a ton of paper to read. And the way people work today, we much rather go to, say, YouTube or some other video app to find a solution for anything. So I think this is a good way of putting it in perspective for the water sector. So we want to thank you immensely. And
Thank
here's
you.
where we're going to sign off. Today I'm Ignatius Jean, the Executive Director at the Caribbean Water and Sewage Association. And when it's Wednesday, it's CAWASA Wednesday webinar, where we speak from A to Z in water so that we can keep you informed with the latest technologies and emerging issues in the water sector. Peace and love to you all. Have a good one.
Thanks, Ignatius. Thanks, Joseph.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Goodbye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Goodbye, everyone.
Mark had a question. I'm not sure if he's still on.
Oh, Mark had a question.
Yeah, he says, question, is there any copyright issues when using this for systems and processes? So the concept is that you or your utility owns the product or owns the actual equipment. And so when we're shooting content on your equipment, the manufacturer has no say whether that content could be shot or not. There has been a couple of instances where the manufacturer doesn't want their content on the internet, and I say, well, it doesn't go on the internet; it goes on an intranet that is within your organization's, behind your single sign on whatever domain you have. So whatever I shoot never ends up on YouTube. It sucks because I can't use it for marketing. Like I can barely show it to anybody because it's proprietary to that utility or to that agency. And so in regards to, like, I don't sell your content on the World Wide Web. Whatever I shoot for it, whatever agency, utility, or plant has to say within that organization. And that's in all the legal documents. But in regards to copyright issues or any kind of what's it called, theft of intellectual property like that, it stays within the platform. So it's not being sold for my gain outside of it, if that makes sense. But good question.
Yeah, thank you for that, Mark, and my apologies for missing that question. Also, I would like to just say that Joe did also indicate that he has a podcast, and
Yes.
he's never had anyone from the Caribbean on his podcast. So there's an opportunity. He's put his contact information in the chat box.
I need interviewees, yes.
And feel free to reach out to him. I certainly will follow up with you in the near future so we can link and follow up on some of the issues you spoke about.
Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
We'll talk.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Okay.
Ignatius
Jean from CAWASA, Wednesday webinar number 2. See you next week. Bye.